The world's truly legendary defenses do not rely on an orderly military retreat. They build incredible monuments of human willpower when a final pocket of resistance refuses to yield. When we think of elite historical achievements, we imagine vast victorious cavalries conquering empires. But true absolute battlefield honor belongs to the masterminds of history's ultimate last stands. These clever and unyielding warriors manipulated narrow terrain and choke points to fight to the absolute end. Today we are counting down 10 of history's absolute greatest and most heroic last man stands. We will look closely at exactly how tiny groups of fighters completely outmaneuvered massive invading armadas. Before we dive in, please like and subscribe to Stickman Chronicles right now. Hitting that big subscribe button helps us bring you more high-quality history videos. Do not forget to turn on notification bell for your daily history fix. Let us start our global countdown with number 10, which takes us to the ancient classical world. Number 10 is the legendary stand of the 300 Spartans at the narrow pass of Thermopylae. The terrifying situation unfolded when a massive Persian invasion force of hundreds of thousands marched down to crush Greece. King Leonidas chose a narrow coastal path to completely neutralize the enemy's massive numerical advantage. His small elite force stood shoulder to shoulder in an unbreakable bronze shield wall for 3 entire days. They repelled waves of elite imperial soldiers, causing absolute psychological frustration for the Persian king. Even when a local trader exposed a hidden mountain path to encircle them, the Spartans refused to surrender. They fought with broken spears and bare hands until the very last warrior was completely cut down. Their unparalleled physical sacrifice struck absolute terror into the enemy and united Greece to win the war. It remains an undying global symbol of how a hopeless defensive stand can echo through centuries of history. Next up at number 9 is the breathtaking and highly tragic defense of the mountain fortress of Masada. The volatile situation erupted when a group of fierce Jewish rebels took refuge on an isolated rock plateau. The Roman army deployed a massive legion of thousands of soldiers to completely encircle the steep cliffs. The defenders utilized Herod's ancient storage rooms packed with enough fresh water and grain to last years. The Romans spent months building a massive dirt ramp under continuous heavy arrow fire just to reach the gate. Realizing the stone walls were finally breached, the defenders chose absolute freedom over Roman slavery. When the legionnaires finally burst into the fort, they found an eerie, total silence across the entire summit. The incredible structural defense proved that psychological resolve can deny an empire its final satisfaction of victory. Number 8 takes us to the medieval fields of Europe with the legendary last stand of the Swiss Guard. A massive chaotic mob of revolutionary citizens stormed the Tuileries Palace in Paris to capture the king. The regular French military units fled the scene, leaving only a small regiment of Swiss mercenaries behind. The highly disciplined Swiss guards stood their ground on the grand marble staircases inside the palace halls. They wore bright red uniforms and maintained precise firing lines against thousands of armed rioters. They ran completely out of ammunition, but refused to abandon their sacred oath of protection to the monarchy. They drew their steel swords and fought hand to hand against overwhelming numbers until they were entirely overwhelmed. Their extreme devotion and battlefield discipline transformed a hopeless palace retreat into a legendary historic sacrifice. It remains a masterclass in how professional honor can withstand the chaotic fury of an entire armed revolution. Number 7, we look at the breathtaking and fiercely fought defense of the Alamo in Texas. A small volunteer garrison of just under 200 fighters was trapped inside an old stone mission outpost. A massive Mexican army of thousands of disciplined soldiers under General Santa Anna completely surrounded the walls. The defenders, including legendary frontiersmen like Davy Crockett, refused to accept any terms of surrender. They held out for 13 days against continuous artillery bombardments, utilizing accurate rifle fire to hold lines. The final assault came before dawn as waves of soldiers scaled the stone walls using primitive wooden ladders. The defenders fought room by room using clubbed rifles and knives in brutal, close-quarters combat. Though the entire garrison was systematically eliminated, their cry became a massive national rallying movement for victory. This legendary frontier sacrifice proved that a small group of determined men can stall a massive national army. Number 6 takes us to the ancient fields of China with the unbeatable defense of the Suiyang garrison. During a massive regional rebellion, a small loyalist force of 10,000 soldiers was completely besieged inside a city. A massive rebel army of over 150,000 troops surrounded the walls to starve them out. The brilliant commander Johnston refused to surrender, using clever psychological tricks to gather weapons from the enemy. He hung straw dummies from the walls at night, causing the nervous rebels to shoot millions of arrows at them. The loyalist archers gathered the arrows and used them to defend the ramparts for months without fresh supplies. They ate tree bark paper and leather shields to survive, while continuously repelling massive frontal assaults. When the city finally fell, the rebels found a broken landscape held by a handful of starving warriors. Their incredible multi-month delay allowed the main imperial army to regroup and completely save the dynasty from ruin. We have reached the middle position for today, countdown of history's most gripping last stands. Before we reveal the top 5, please like this video and subscribe to Stickman Chronicles. Your daily support helps us spend more time researching these incredible historical survival stories. Leave a comment right below about which historic defense has shocked you the most so far on our list. Now, let us jump straight to number 5 on our list of unbelievable and historic military endurance. Number 5 is the ultimate example of raw survival grit, known as the Battle of Saragarhi. The incredible event took place at a small stone communications outpost situated on a rugged mountain ridge. A tiny garrison composed of only 21 elite Sikh soldiers was suddenly surrounded by 10,000 tribal warriors. The enemy cut off all escape routes and demanded an immediate total surrender of the strategic signaling post. The Sikh commander sent a final radio message stating his men would stand and fight to protect the line. They formed a defensive circle around the broken walls, firing their bolt-action rifles with absolute precision. They successfully repelled repeated massive charges over several hours, killing hundreds of attackers on the slopes. When their ammunition ran completely dry, they fixed their steel bayonets to face the final oncoming wave. Every single soldier fought to the absolute death, defending the post until the final man was cut down inside. Their unparalleled bravery allowed neighboring forts to prepare their defenses and completely defeat the invasion force. Moving to number 4, we look at the magnificent and highly disciplined stand of the Battle of Camarón in Mexico. A small detachment of just over 60 foreign legion soldiers was escorting a vital supply convoy through the brush. Suddenly, a massive force of over 2,000 Mexican infantry and cavalry troops ambushed their column. The legionnaires retreated to a small ruined farmhouse with thick adobe walls to set up a defensive perimeter. They refused multiple honorable surrender offers, stating they had plenty of ammunition to continue the fight. They held off the entire army for hours in intense heat without a single drop of water to drink. When only 5 active men were left standing, they fired their final bullets and launched a desperate bayonet charge. The Mexican general was so deeply moved by their extreme bravery that he ordered his men to spare their lives. He treated the survivors with medical honors, proving that absolute martial discipline commands respect from enemies. Number 3 takes us to the frozen naval channels of World War II with the untouchable stand of the destroyer Johnston. During a massive naval battle, a small American fleet was completely surprised by the main Japanese battleship armada. The enemy fleet featured the Yamato, which was the largest and most heavily armed battleship ever built in history. Instead of fleeing, the commander of the small destroyer Johnston turned his ship around and charged the entire armada alone. He zigzagged through heavy artillery fire to get close enough to launch a full spread of torpedoes. The tiny ship managed to seriously damage a massive enemy cruiser and throw their entire line into complete confusion. Even when his ship was completely burning and losing power, the commander continued firing his small guns manually. The single-handed charge convinced the Japanese generals that they were facing a much larger naval force, forcing them to retreat. The heroic sacrifice of the small crew saved the entire landing army from absolute structural destruction on the beaches. At number 2, we look at the legendary classical defense of the city of Rome by a single warrior named Horatius. An invading Etruscan army had launched a massive surprise assault and was rapidly advancing toward a vital wooden bridge. If the enemy forces managed to cross the river, they would instantly capture the completely defenseless capital city. The retreating Roman soldiers panicked, but Horatius stepped forward alone to block the narrow entrance of the bridge. He stood with his heavy, circular shield and broadsword, challenging the entire enemy vanguard to face him. He cut down the frontline attackers one by one, while his fellow citizens desperately hacked down the bridge behind him. He absorbed dozens of incoming spears on his shield, maintaining his position through sheer physical endurance. Just as the wooden structure collapsed into the rushing river, Horatius jumped into the water, wearing full heavy armor. He successfully swam back to the Roman bank, becoming an eternal national hero who saved the Republic single-handedly. Finally, we reach number 1 on our list, which takes us to the high-stakes battlefields of ancient Greece. Number 1 is the unbelievable and legendary last stand of the sacred band of Thebes at Camarón. The situation involved an elite military unit composed entirely of 300 highly trained select warriors. They had spent their entire lives training in advanced gymnastics, wrestling, and synchronized spear tactics. They faced the massive, unstoppable expansion of the Macedonian army led by King Philip and Alexander the Great. The Macedonian phalanx managed to completely shatter the main Greek lines, causing thousands of troops to flee the field. The sacred band refused to take a single step backward, remaining completely isolated in their tactical position. They were surrounded by thousands of infantrymen and heavy cavalry charges, but maintained their interlocking shield wall. They fought with absolute fury until every single member of the unit lay dead in their exact original lines. The victorious King Philip looked down at the pile of fallen heroes and wept openly, praising their unmatched devotion. Their magnificent sacrifice remains historically recognized as the absolute ultimate testament to human military honor. These gripping narratives prove that human resourcefulness can shatter the strongest chains on Earth completely. Please make sure to like this video and subscribe to Stickman Chronicles right now. See you tomorrow as we upload high-quality history videos every single day without fail.